What it do, good man fam, and welcome to the next episode of the I Hat podcast, the I Have a Theory podcast. Y'all want to hear something crazy? For some odd reason, females in this day and age, and some males as well, which is kind of weird, but don't seem to understand that all females are not the same. I don't know why they don't understand this thing, but they seem to think that all females are the same. And I think part of it has to do with something about which I'll speak sometime in the future. But the crazy thing is, females themselves, in their minds, understand the difference between them and another person standing next to them, whether it's a male or female. They understand the difference. But when it comes to females, they just outwardly show that they don't seem to think that there's a difference between the two. Now, whether or not they believe that, that's a different story. I'm just talking about what we actually see. And I'm sitting there thinking, why in the world would they not understand this when we all, with our own eyes, are looking at this person, this person, this person, this person? We can see all the difference in the world as far as physically, right? We can see all the difference in the world. We look at that person, we see, okay, that person's 5'3", they're 178 pounds. This person, 5'5", they're 125. This person is whatever. We can see all of that. But somehow, you ask them a question on a podcast, you ask them a question on some type of street interview, and what are they going to say? No, it just seems like everybody's just the same. No, she's not fat. No, she's not too skinny. No, she's not that. Is anybody anything other than perfect in your eyes? They know good and well that the answer to that question is, yeah, they are different. They are more, or rather less than perfect. But are they going to say it? No. But here's the thing. It doesn't matter whether or not you say it. It doesn't matter whether or not you tell somebody the truth outwardly. You can't lie to yourself. No matter how many times you try to lie to yourself is going to say what the truth is. Here's the difference. The difference is, if you don't tell anybody anything outwardly, then outside of God, nobody will know, because we can't read minds. We can't. This is not some type of sci-fi movie. So here's the thing. I took the time to figure out what's the difference between all of these different females when it comes to the inside of a female mentally, how she acts and how that manifests itself outwardly. Because although we can all see outwardly, the inside we may not be able to see, but when it shows itself outwardly, it lets us know the type of person that a person is a lot of times. And I think most of the time, really. Now, there are some outliers to where someone can be a really nice, really kind person, and something happens that triggers them to make them flip the freak out, and you see a side of them that a person like them wouldn't normally show, and you're surprised that they showed that. You're like, wow, I didn't think that they had that in them. Yes, those are outliers, but that person may normally be really kind, really sweet. I've seen that myself. My mom is like that. She'd be really kind and sweet, and then she'll have her moments just like everybody else. The crazy thing is, these people think that they can hide this stuff. We're talking particularly about modern females. They think that they can hide this stuff without anybody being able to see it, because they really believe that there's some superhero that can keep all of this stuff to themselves and nobody's ever going to know. Nobody's ever going to know. They're not going to find out that I'm a certain way. And I'm thinking, you do know we can see you, right? You do know that the way you act, the way that you think, all of that stuff comes into play with each other, because you will think a certain way and then you'll act a certain way without even realizing that you're doing it, because that's how humans work. It takes a special level of concentration for you to think one way and act a completely different way. That's eventually going to come out. The question is it going to come out in public or is it going to come out in private? If it comes out in private, then the people who were there in private, they could potentially tell what they saw from you. So you're going to be found out. And we've seen it across the world, particularly in the West, how modern females actually are in real life, action-wise. We're not just talking about mindset, we're talking about action-wise. And once we saw that, we started looking at how they were mentally. And they were dumb enough to actually come out on social media and save us the trouble of trying to go find out, wait, they're doing all of this craziness. Are they a certain way? And do the investigation thing, the whole Sherlock Holmes thing. They saved us all the freaking trouble. TikTok's one of the best apps in the world to see how modern females actually are. Because, you know, the clout that they love to have, they love to get, they can get it so much easier on TikTok than any other app. And a big part of that reason is because TikTok's an app to where people want to see the real you. They want to see the real you. So if you're a person who makes these toys or you do Legos or you do these little figurines or something, people want to see that you do that. They want to see you make mistakes. They want to see the real raw you. It's different on Instagram, because Instagram, people like to see more curated content. They want to see it more polished. But Instagram, they're like, you can just be you, flaws and all. And we know good and well when it comes to females, particularly modern females, that they want everybody to just be okay with everything. So that means if a person has flaws, if a person's a particular way, it should be okay to the world. That's how they think. Here's the thing, though. Women, we're talking about traditional and modern women, they don't think like that. They don't think that everything should just be okay, that you can do whatever the freak it is that you want to do. It's crazy because, okay, think about how women are, just in general. Women tend to be what? Women tend to be feminine. Now, I know that sounds a little weird because you're thinking, wait a minute. Modern females, they're women too, right? No, they're not. I don't consider modern females to be women. I consider them to be modern females, hence why I call them that. So the actual women, which again is about 22 to 24% in the West, used to be the majority. Now they're the really small minority. They're not even close to something that could be considered a plurality. They're literally just the plain old minority now, in my opinion. They're actually feminine. When you're around them, when you see them, you feel like, man, this it's just something about a feminine female. It's just something about a feminine female. She makes you feel warm. She makes you feel invited. She makes you calmer. Just everything about a feminine female is just freaking amazing. The femininity part of it, right? And also the thing about women is they're not out here getting a gazillion bodies. I haven't seen one woman who has over 9 bodies, right? Now, a person could think, well, 9 bodies, that's a lot of bodies. Well, if you think about somebody in a lifetime, if a person lives to be 80 years old, 9 bodies means that they had one partner every 10 years, right? Every 9.1, let's say 9 years in 1 month or so. So in essence, let's just round up. They've had one partner every 10 years. I don't think having one partner every 10 years is like being out there, is being in the streets. So women don't usually have double-digit bodies. And that's a fantastic thing. Also, the guys, or guy rather, who they actually slept with, those guys, they normally will marry them or be in some type of relationship with that guy. That's the best part about it. They actually say, okay, I'm going to try to be in a relationship with this guy. Now, even if things don't work out, they might have slept with 2 or 3 guys or something at the beginning, and then they get in a relationship with a guy. They might have slept with 4 or 5 guys. Now, this normally is way down. From back in the day, it was way down. It was like 1 or 2, maybe 3, right? But now, modern times, it's increased. But they still don't normally have over 9 bodies. So their whole thing is, I'm trying to get to a relationship. This is how women think, because they understand the value of their counterparts. There's another thing. Women also, this drives me crazy when you'll have modern females talking about women being all tightened up when it comes to the clothing. Like, man, you're just a lame. Look at you. You have on this dress that doesn't show anything. And males are thinking, yeah, because you're not supposed to be showing your top side to bottom side. You're not supposed to be showing that out in public like that. Now, there are some females who their top side and bottom side are so large that there's nothing that they can do about that. It doesn't matter what they wear. You're going to see that they have some things. Okay. But the women actually understand how to dress to look nice, to look sexy and everything without looking raunchy. That's a very important distinction. And then women used to not have tattoos, and they still don't. We're talking about women. We're not talking about modern females. They usually what? Don't have tattoos. And for some reason, modern females think that that's weird. I'm thinking it's weird for me to not put ink into my body. The freak, that doesn't even make any sense, but it's almost like the thought process has been flipped on top of his head. But this is how the difference between those 2 types of females is so doggone apparent. Also, women understand what feminism was supposed to be, but they also realize that it's no longer primarily what it was supposed to be, which was promoting something positive. They get that. We're talking about women now, not modern females. And this is something that's crazy, that should not be controversial, but it seems like women understand and accept that males and females are different. But for some odd reason, modern females keep telling themselves that males and females aren't. Women accept that. Women accept, listen, we're not the same. We're not. Males and females are not the same. But for some odd reason, when you have a conversation with these doggone, I don't even know if I should say that, but you know the look of a modern female. When you tell her this truth, this honesty, she'll just blatantly stand there and lie and act like that that's not the case, that we are somehow equal. And come on, man, you're not even trying to be honest right now. And another thing, women also accept something about that inequality, males and females not being the same, that modern females don't, which is males are literally born to be leaders. This is what males are born to be. And it's funny because they won't accept that while at the same time saying that they want that. I don't accept that males are the leaders, but I won't get with any male who's not a leader. Wait, what? You sound crazy as all get out, ma'am, but this is how they think. This is how they think. Women understand that. They understand our males were built to be the leaders. I'm built to be the helpmeet. Even if rather you're a person who doesn't believe things spiritually, biblically, you understand when you look at a male. This is the woman. She understands that he's the leader. She sees the difference in the two, the massive difference. And she's like, okay, he's driving. I'm helping him navigate from the passenger seat. It's very simple. I'm going to tell you something that's crazy. Her input, a woman's input, is so important when it comes to male leadership. And the reason that's important is because it's almost like a third eye. It's almost like a third eye. But what she understands is that if he says her input is not going to be used, that's okay. Because there are only three things that can happen in a rational conversation, particularly when it comes to males and females in relationships. A male hears what a female says, and he says, let me spin that around in my mind. And then he comes back and says, I disagree with you. The second thing is he hears what she says, spins it around in his head, comes back and says, I partially agree, partially disagree, whether that's 22% compared to 45%, whatever. And the third thing is he swirls it around in his head and he comes back and says, oh, you're right. I agree with you. That's it. Those are the only three things that can happen. A woman understands this simplicity. And so when she gives the male her opinion, she doesn't think, if he doesn't take my opinion, then that means that he's some doggone, arrogant, self-centered, this, that. She doesn't start with the doggone shaming language if that ever happens. Another thing women do that modern females don't seem to do is understand that whole I'm single until I'm married is some old bull crap. That is freaking amazing to me. Every time I hear somebody say that, I'm thinking, so is that the same when it comes to contracts? No, because when you tell somebody something, when you say, this is what we're going to do, that's in essence a contract. So if the contract is saying you and I are together, the exclusivity comes from you. You're going to be my man. So you're going to be my queen. I'm going to have concubines, but you're going to be my queen. If we have this agreement and then you say, yeah, you said I'm going to be your queen. I'm not yet. We're not married. So until I'm your queen, then I'm single. It's like, wait a minute. No, but you do know there's girlfriend, fiance, then wife. That's the sequence. So if I make you my girlfriend or whatever agreement with which we've come up, then that means that agreement is by what we're going. If that agreement is you're with me, I got other chicks, but you're my main chick. You get all the benefits and everything. Those other chicks don't. Or you could be a guy who says, you know what? I'm not going to have any chicks except you. Whatever the thing is. If that's the case, and then you say, oh, no, I know we agreed that it's just me and you, but until you give me this ring that the doggone CEO of Elder Beerman said is intrinsically worthless, quote unquote, literally. That's what he said, that diamond. Then that means that I'm still single. Nah, that's freaking crazy. She understands that that's some bullcrap. We're talking about women now. We're not talking about modern females. We're talking about women understand that's freaking crazy. There's another thing. Women don't involve themselves in males' business unless males ask them to. I've had this thing I wanted to ask people for a while, which was, are you a person who, if you're in, say, an altercation, a physical altercation, wants your woman to jump in? Most males will say no. You know why most males will say no? because males have an inherent need to protect females. If you jump into the fight, the altercation that he's having, then that means that he has to try to protect you and himself. It makes it doubly hard. So the best thing for a female to do, in my opinion, is to call somebody, call security, call 911, do whatever you need to do in order to get help to your man if he's in an altercation, because you never know what could happen. He could be fighting one guy and it's 5 other guys who are the dude's friends. And if they see that their boy is getting mollywopped, they decide, I'm going to jump in. Now it's 6 on freaking 1 and it's a problem. So the best thing for her to do is to call somebody. Now, it's a little bit scary when she does it if it's black people that are in altercation, because we understand the history of that with the police. It's a little different. But again, the whole point is her job is not to take her behind and put her behind in the middle of the doggone altercation, because that will cause a problem. And women understand that. Also, she may or may not have children, but she understands that her children are not something that would be a necessary benefit to the male. She gets that. Now, again, that's if she does have children. Because remember, you're talking about traditional and modern women. Traditional women would normally not have children, but modern women would. And modern women, they would understand that those kids aren't necessarily a benefit. So they're really grateful that somebody would be willing to give them the ultimate prize. Because for those of you all who don't know, a male making a female their woman is the hardest thing to happen in a relationship. Okay? That's the hardest thing. When I say their woman, I'm talking about giving them the ultimate prize, not just their woman, but you're my woman for life. That whole taking them on for life, that's the most difficult thing to accomplish when it comes to relationship. That's harder to get than sex. So when a male decides to take on a female, particularly a modern woman with kids, as their person for life, their main one for life, oh, she better be dang near kissing the ground on which he walks, because that is extraordinarily difficult to find for a modern female. But they understand that when it comes to their kids. Also, when it comes to women, their primary thing when it comes to moving through life is their home and their family. That's their primary thing. It's a very important, piece of language right there. Primary. Because traditional females, they would be at home almost always, and they may do some volunteer work or something outside of the house, and maybe a little bit of something where they make a little bit of money here and there, but their main thing is home, kids, husband. Okay. Whereas more of a modern woman, she would have a job outside the house, a full-time job, but she would understand, or she could have a part-time job, but it wouldn't be sporadic. It would be, solidified. But she understands her main thing is the households, her man and her kids. She gets that. And the best part about traditional modern women thinking about family as the priority is that also extends to their extended family, their mother-in-law, their father-in-law. That extends to that. And so usually the whole family loves them, because they see that their priority is about making sure that the family itself is shored up. And the reason that they're able to do that is because they find actual joy and happiness and fulfillment in taking care of their family. Traditional modern women, they love that. They love taking care of their family. And that's what I love about Women are just, they're so doggone beautiful, dude. And I'm not just talking about externally, because there are women who aren't the most attractive, right? There are women who aren't the most attractive. I'm talking about as far as physically. But when they have a beautiful spirit, it makes it easy for you to deal with them on that level. A lot easier, at the least. And so women themselves just make the world just a much, much better place. And I don't think there's any person in this world who would disagree with that. That women make the world a better place. Doesn't matter if you're a traditional woman, doesn't matter if you're a modern woman, you make the world better. However, you aren't the only ones in the world. You definitely aren't the only ones in the West. You're a minority in the doggone West. You have what should be your counterparts, but it turns out that they are, because your counterparts are supposed to be us. But the counterparts for you all have become modern females. They're about 76 to 78% of females in the West, particularly. And it's freaking crazy, man. It's freaking crazy, because modern females, they're not normally feminine at all. And the crazy thing is, they'll be trying to act like they're feminine. They'll be trying to like hide their masculinity. And males are looking at them like, you do know we can see you, right? We can see you, ma'am. We can see that you are not in any shape, form, or facet feminine outside of your physical. And sometimes the physical isn't even that. And you all know what do they call it? The septum piercing theory. I've never seen that theory not ring true. And also, modern females, yo, their body count be crazy, yo. Their body counts be bananas. And the way that they try to cope with them being completely burned the freak out of oxytocin, the way that they cope with that is by acting like that body count is nothing. What? It's nothing. It's nothing. It's just, I mean, hey, I got, 17 bodies. What? What's the problem? You're sitting there looking at them thinking, ma'am, you're freaking 28 with 17 bodies. You probably started engaging in activities like that maybe around 14 or 15. So let's just say 14 years. For you to have 17 bodies in 14 years means that you had at least a body a year. A new person every year. What the freak is wrong with you? You know what I'm saying? It's freaking crazy, but they'll try to cope and seize with that. Not only that, but they'll be walking around dressing crazy. They'll be walking around dressing like, what's that Dave Chappelle joke that he said? Okay, ma'am, I'm not saying you're a whore, but you are wearing a whore's uniform. They'll be walking around like that. Hey, I didn't say it. Dave Chappelle said it. Okay? They'll be walking around like that and looking at you like you're crazy because you're staring at their twins. You're staring at the two hams they got behind them. You're looking like, what in the freaking world? Ma'am, you're putting them out there. You literally have them out purposely. And then they say, well, I don't do this for males. You do that for females? Because I'm pretty sure that if you did that for females, wouldn't that mean that you were either bisexual or gay? But then you say you're not. Okay, then you're showing your cheeks and your top for what? It's bullcrap. They know it's bullcrap, but they're going to lie. But what did they say on Friday? You ain't got to lie, Craig. You ain't got to lie. In this case, I guess it'd be Craig Isha because she's a female or something, right? But another thing that you'll notice, modern females also, they'll have a bunch of tattoos. Now, I don't even trip as much about a female having one tattoo on her ankle or something, a little rose or something. That's not good either. But if she has one and she's 29, 35, you're thinking, okay, she did that. But to not have multiple ones, especially when they say getting tattoos is addictive, that means that she has some level of impulse control. So she might not be as bad. She can even not be a modern female. She might be a modern woman. So that would be not as bad. But normally modern females will have just a slew of tattoos. Or especially if you see the arm sleeve or you see the neck tattoos, it's a wrap. Just chalk it up. It's a wrap. And the reason that they do all of this stuff is because feminism has taught them that the way to be quote unquote empowered is not to be feminine. It's to be masculine and, strong, because they use all these masculine terms and they don't realize that's you trying to be masculine. So they want to do all of these things. And so feminism promotes them doing all of these things that are masculine, but at the same time, they're saying this is supposed to empower females. No, ma'am, you're empowering males because you keep giving all the guys like me all of the stuff from you, and I don't have to put in the work that I used to have to put in. It's freaking crazy. See, feminism also tells them that they're equal to males, which again is insanity. This is why you'll have females swinging on males, trying to fight males literally in the streets, in bars, clubs, wherever, because feminism tells them they can do what a male can do. You'll see females on podcasts, particularly modern females, remember, talking about how they have fought males. This one female said, I fight men and I win. And the guys on the podcast are sitting there thinking, because I don't think that female was too big. Like she wasn't like weight wise, just overweight, because if it's a slender guy and a really big female, if she can get him on the ground, it's a wrap for him because he may literally not have enough strength to get her off of him. This female wasn't really big. So when she talks about I fight males and I win, the males on a podcast were like, you do know that guy probably wasn't putting in the work really when it came to the power he was throwing at you in those fights, right? That guy, the other guy, however many guys you fought. You do understand that, right? And then the female was like, no, he was really trying to go at it. And I'm sitting there thinking, ma'am, you really think that your jaw wouldn't be cracked, your head wouldn't be split open with the amount of power that males have, the doggone bone density that we have, the muscle mass? Think about just the tensile strength in the hand. Why do you think females will hand a jar over to a male and then he'll just go pop and he'll pop the jar open, and they're looking like, how in the world is he able to just do this? And I'm not, because she's looking at him and he doesn't look like The Rock. He doesn't look like doggone old school Randy Macho Man Savage. He doesn't look like these people. So why in the world is he able to do something like that when he just looks like me? He looks like a regular person. Again, it's because our lung capacity, heart size, that stuff is not the same. But for some reason, it's taught them that, no, you're just the same as males, which again is crazy. This is why when they get into relationships, they'll be saying, we're partners. We're partners. That's the equivalent of two people sitting inside of a driver's seat. The male has his left hand on the steering wheel and the female has her right hand on the steering wheel, and they're driving. It's not a partnership. It's not a partnership, but they'll tell them that. They'll tell him it's a partnership. No, he's driving. You're helping him navigate. He's leading. It's CEO. It's supervisor. It's pilot. It's stewardess. But for some reason, feminism keeps telling them, no. It's pilot, co-pilot. It's CEO, co-CEO. See, we're equal. We're equal. Well, at the same time, they're like, no, I don't want a male that's equal. I want a male to be able to lead me. Wait, what? That doesn't make any sense. It's that jumbled mindset. Why? Because, as I've said before, females now, because of feminism, are fighting their actual biology using the bullcrap society has told them. It's really corporations telling them this stuff because they want them separate from males so that they can use how emotional females are to get all of their money and to try to get males money through them too via alimony and child support. But now males ain't even giving them kids. Males ain't marrying them. So it's a major problem. That's why corporations have decided we're just going to go jump into the government and just take the money from the actual printing press itself. It's crazy how, corporations have used feminism in order to get females, particularly modern females, to think this way. This is another thing that I can't stand. This is one of the things that irritates me the freaking most, y'all. Have y'all ever heard that saying, oh, the man is the head, but the female's the neck? That got to be one of the dumbest sayings I've ever heard in my life. Ma'am, you do know that the head has the brain in it. And the brain is what tells the neck to turn the head. So it's the head controlling the neck. But a female, because they like these analogies that don't make sense except on the surface, because they want to feel useful. They want to feel useful, but they're trying to make themselves feel useful inside of the male realm. And we keep telling them, ma'am, you have your own lane where you're extraordinarily useful. But whenever you try to step into the male's lane for control, whenever you try to sit at the doggone co-pilot seat and try to steer the doggone plane, you run into a problem because you're not the pilot. You're the stewardess. You're supposed to be taking care of the passengers, our kids. But if you say that, people get offended, particularly modern females, these feminists, they get offended. And you're sitting there thinking, historically, this has worked best. Why are you mad at me for telling you something that works the best and suggesting that that's what you prioritize? It's because they don't like something that doesn't make them feel good. They don't like that, which is why they like saying the female is the neck and the male is the head, because the female controls the head. They want so badly to be in control that they didn't even think that analogy doesn't make sense, because the brain is what controls the neck and it's inside the head, ma'am. Not only that, but these modern females, they'll have kids, right? And they'll prioritize themselves over their kids. And they'll use their kids against the male whenever it's convenient for them. Because y'all can tell me if y'all noticed this. Have you noticed that when a male is about to leave or something and the female wants him to stay, but she's been so out of pocket that he's like, I'm done, which is rare, right? That she will say things like, well, what about your kids? Or she'll say, what about our kids? You notice that she uses inclusive verbiage when it comes to the children with him in those scenarios. However, when she's leaving because she doesn't give a crap about him, another guy, she's monkey branch to another guy, what would she say? My kids. What would she say to the lawyer? My kids. She won't say our kids then. She'll weaponize the kids against him when she wants to try to pull at his emotional heartstrings. But when she doesn't give a crap about his emotions, when she doesn't give a crap about his heartstrings, guess what she does? All of a sudden, he doesn't have any type of ownership of the children anymore in her language. It's now my kids. Y'all notice that? Right. Also, let's not forget that he doesn't have any type of reproductive rights at all. It's pretty crazy, right? Also, her husband and her children and her extended family, like when I was talking about the traditional modern women, they don't matter to her. As far as prioritizing, they don't matter. Why don't they matter? Because she matters more than anybody in her life. What do they say? They say, you have to love you more. They'll use all this different type of airy fairy language. I saw one modern female who left her family. She just was like, I'm just stressed out. Kids, husband, I'm stressed out. And she just rolled the freak out, right? Moved to another state, got a job in another state, and is literally just living in another state away from her husband and her kids. She just was like deuces. And of course, she's doing what? Banging some dude out there too. Or what? Did you think because she was still married that she was going to, make sure that she did her vows and the whole night? If that was the case, she wouldn't have rolled to freak out like she did. She would have at least said, you know what? We need to get divorced or something. But it wasn't about the male. It was about her and her not wanting responsibilities anymore. It's about her wanting to live her life. I love me. I want to live my life. That's what it was about. So she just rolled to freak out without no thought for her kids, no thought for her family, no thought for her extended family, nothing. Because when you do that, then that puts more pressure on the extended family because they have to come in and, of course, assist with different things. It's crazy, right? But again, modern females, they're not thinking about you. They don't give a care about you at all. They care more about their doggone job than they do their family. Because look at the female about whom I was just speaking. She went out to another spot and got a job and had the audacity to come online and start having a conversation about her job and how she left them and she just need to choose her and the whole night. And I'm sitting there thinking, what are her kids going to think? Because it's different if it's a male. If it's a male, he won't leave his family, but he may have a job like a truck driver where he has to, drive across the country, or he might have a job in the military. But his thing is, my family is driving me. That's what's driving me, and I can't wait to get back to them. In modern females' case, man, they are not thinking about their family at all. They're literally thinking about their job being the thing to which they have to get back. They don't give a crap about their doggone family. That's their priority, that job, not the people they call themselves loving. And part of the reason is because they don't have the joy that women have when it comes to taking care of their people. They don't have the joy. They don't care about their people like that because the family itself isn't their priority. Their priority is whatever makes them happy. And the crazy thing is, you can't usually make these type of people happy. That's not a thing. Trying to make a female happy, you will drive yourself insane trying to make a modern female happy. You drive yourself crazy. Because everything goes from left to right, up to down. It jumps. Why? Because they're fighting their biology. Their biology says that their happiness comes from the nurturing side of things. But because feminism and these corporations using feminism has told them that they're going to get their fulfillment out of working 50 years, they're fighting themselves when their biology tells them family, family, family. And they're like, no, my happiness, my happiness, my happiness. And my happiness is doing a bunch of work over here and seeing my bank account go up with some numbers until they get hit with something. And normally that thing with which they get hit comes after what Mother Nature gives them gets taken by Father Time. Then all of a sudden it's, man, my family, man, my kids, man, my man, where's my man? They start having that type of mindset, but by then it's too late. And part of the reason is because these corporations, with everything that they've created, all of the doggone talk shows, all of the doggone commercials, and now social media, It's giving these, modern females an exaggerated sense of self-importance, like the belief in them like being special or unique or something. It's giving them this thing that makes them think that they're the greatest freaking thing since sliced bread. This is what has actually happened. Okay? And because they've gotten that, especially with social media, it makes it to where they have now, remember, this has come from them being kids, 10 years old, 12 years old, 5 years old. They're being constantly told how awesome they are, to where now it's almost a requirement for them to just be praised all the time. Just attention, attention. And social media has exacerbated that. Because think about males. Males are told at a young age, nobody gives a crap about your tears. Nobody gives a care about your pain and anguish. Deal with it. That's why you have the saying, man up. You have the saying, man up. How many times in your life have you heard the saying, woman up? That's not a thing that happens. Even when females try to use the terminology, they use man up. Why? Because biologically, males are the ones who are supposed to be the pillars of a particular type of strength. Females have a different type of strength they don't even use most of the time. They sit up here and try to do male strength stuff. It's freaking crazy. And then because they've been pushed to this point by consistent repetition of how awesome they are and everything's about them, guess what? They have an extremely difficult time recognizing or even identifying the feelings and needs of males, other females, that don't agree with them. Because remember, we're talking about modern females. So the sisterhood, if you agree with them, they'll quote unquote empathize with you. But if you don't, no empathy, no nothing except for kids. They'll do it with kids. But if you're talking about their actual counterparts in real life, it shouldn't be other females. We're talking about males. They don't give a crap. They have no empathy. This is why if a male cries around a female, a lot of times, and I would say most of the time, they will lose respect for that male. Because in their minds, they think, wait, can this guy protect me if he's breaking down in front of me? And what's crazy is males don't get taught that until a female teaches them that by judging them for it and using it against them. That's when males realize, oh, shoot, a lot of times. Because a lot of these males didn't grow up with their fathers in their lives because of how the situation between them and the female with whom they had kids was. So those males don't get taught that, and they learn that lesson the actual hardest freaking way. And feminism, even though it's supposed to be talking about equality, right? What the corporations have done with these, like I said, social media accounts and all of this propaganda is they've made females have this split thing in their brain. Females are the only ones who can have two different things in their mind at the same time that are on opposite ends of the spectrum. They will tell themselves, particularly modern females, that we're equal while at the same time expecting favorable treatment and automatic compliance with their expectations. Think about how crazy that is. We're simultaneously equal, but at the same time, you need to be chivalrous to me. Ma'am, you do understand that chivalry is you getting special treatment, but equality is you not getting special treatment. So you get mad at males who now won't give up their seat on the bus for you, males who won't help you put your groceries in the car, males who won't help you change your tire on the side of the road, call AAA, males who won't help you bring the furniture in. But at the same time, you say we're equal. Well, guess what? Males equally bring their own furniture up. You can equally bring your own furniture up, right? Again, I'm just going based off of what y'all say. Because y'all are the ones who are talking about we should be equal, but at the same time, y'all will be on podcasts talking about how you're better than males. You'll be talking about how y'all the greatest thing since sliced bread, which again comes across as conceited as all get out. Y'all will be talking about that y'all superior to males, not biologically, just you thinking that we're that because we're just the greatest thing since sliced bread. Y'all be patronizing males, all type of stuff. The doggone View, this television show, they had a segment during primetime television where they were talking about males being useless. That was the name of the segment, I think, was Are Males Useless? And I'm sitting there thinking, what if males did a segment during the day where they had a panel of males and the name of the segment was Are Females Useless? Man, it would have been all over the news. Those guys would have been getting doxxed. They would have taken away their social media accounts. They would have called the FCC on them, the federal, the Federal Communications Commission. And they would have went ham on these guys. But The View did this and nobody did absolutely nothing. Nothing happened at all. It was freaking crazy. But this is the thing. They want special treatment while at the same time being equal. It's freaking crazy. And then at the same time, they're talking like they're so much better than males. And then they'll take advantage of people knowing that certain things can't be done to females in comparison to males. Again, getting special treatment. While at the same time, acting like, no, we're equal. But give me that. We're equal, but let me in the club free. We're equal, but you pay all the bills at the house. We're equal, but you pay for the dinner. Because look at what I had to do to get dressed. Y'all know you got dressed too, but look at what I had to do. You know how much my makeup cost? My makeup cost $100. No, it didn't. Because you only used 12 cents of your makeup tonight for me. You didn't use that whole makeup case for me. You only used 12 cents. But they won't say that because that's too much nuance. They always do surface level bull crap. They never think through their actual arguments. And what's so crazy is the reason that I believe in part they do this is because I think they're slightly envious of males. I really do. I think that they're slightly envious of males because they believe that they should have what males have. But at the same time, they don't understand that what males have to go through in order to get the things that males have is something through which they do not want to go. But they don't find that out until they get in there. And then they'll be in there for a little bit. And then they'll start telling themselves, man, I really don't want to freaking do this. Like this one female who was a plumber. She couldn't even turn the wrench to loosen certain things. She literally did not have the actual amount of force needed to be able to do that. And guess what she did? She rolled the freak out. She was the only one in that group of guys who were plumbers, and she was like, I gotta go. And she wrote the freak out. She don't even do plumbing anymore. Because they'll get in and realize we're not the same. They'll try to stay for their ego, but then they're like, yo, I can't do this. How many females do you see? They'll be lawyers and then they'll become 28, 29 years of age. They'll reach that and then they'll start getting the baby rabies and then they'll say, I don't really want to do this. I want to have a family. It's like, yeah, but you use your formative years to do all of this stuff. Now you're trained completely wrong. You're trained to be a quote unquote boss babe and not a mother. You're trained to be a boss babe and not a wife. You're not trained to be somebody who can take leadership from a male. You're trained to be a person who wants to try to fight for the steering wheel or fight for the controls of the plane. So you got a whole nother problem. Then they'll do what? They'll go and have a kid by a guy. They're not going to stay with. And then what happens? The guy and them are now on the outs. They have the kid and they don't even want to do what? They don't even want to do that job anymore as a lawyer. They don't even want to do that anymore. And what's crazy is when you try to tell these modern females this, they'll actually just lash out at you. You try to explain this stuff to them, that this is how y'all are. And it's because you've been programmed this whole nine. They will lash the freak out at you. They'll act like they have all of this doggone confidence, but they really don't. They're extremely sensitive because they understand that what's happening to them is something that's tearing at the fabric of who they are because they've been fighting their biology for so long. And when they look up, they're like, oh, shoot, I done really effed up. Yes, you have, ma'am. Yes, you have. And guess what? They realize they can't go back and change anything. And this is how they are. Oh, wait a minute. Having an exaggerated sense of self-importance and belief in, that's being grandioso. Requiring excessive praise. Having a need for admiration, lack of empathy. They, not even giving a crap about male's feelings, not even being able to understand it, not caring if a male cries, if a male gets hurt or anything like that. Them wanting favorable treatment so they have some type of sense of entitlement, huh? Them being conceited and coming across as haughty and freaking patronizing. Arrogance, Them taking advantage of them knowing that they can get away with bull crap, so they are being exploitative. Wow. So they have exploitative behavior. And then them being envious of people. And then them having a fragile self-esteem. Wait a minute. Aren't those all key characteristics of a narcissist? Modern females are actual narcissists. Checkmate.
So, what are your thoughts on this? Put it in the comments section because comments really help push the video. Then grab yourself some merch on the way out in order to support the channel. And don't forget to click like and subscribe. Thanks, good man fam.